we will begin by connecting in with ourselves and with each other across space and time, the space-time continuum, as they say. So just take a moment to sit with intention so that the spine is nice and upright, so that you have an intention to be here, to let go of whatever else is happening in your day, perhaps in your weekend, and to be fully present. And then breathing in together, breathing out together, breathing in together. And then opening your eyes. So we'll come into our first pose, and then what I'll do is I'm going to read you a little bit. If you were at the meditation, I read this before as well, but it's really worth listening into it again. Yeah, never, it's never a detriment to do that. So our first pose is going to be butterfly. And I'm going to give you a few options here as to how you want your butterfly to be. So you might want to have bolsters or cushions just to hand so that you can grab them. So we're going to bring the soles of the feet together. So this morning our practice is going to be around the element of water. And the reason for this is because water is very much to do with flow, our ability to flow with life, our ability to give and receive, to take in and to let go. And I feel that this has a connection to the theme of Asteya, of non-taking, non-stealing. So we're going to bring the soles of the feet together. And you can make this as supported as you like, or as unsupported as you like. So you might want to either have the soles of the feet close to the groin, so you can see how that feels. If that feels a little strong, the way to take some of the sensation out is to bring the feet further away from your body. So that takes a little of the sensation out of the groin. You can, of course, support underneath your knees. So this can be very nice for the hips. And then a few options. So either coming forwards, so either a little extension here, bringing yourself forwards. You may hold on to the feet. You may want to slide your hands through and onto the floor here. If you feel that that's going to be just a little strong right now, I'm going to suggest that you support yourself here. So it'll be reclined, butterfly, perhaps a little angle in your support, and then just resting back here. And the arms just by your side, backs of the hands onto the mat. So coming forward will be a little bit stronger than the reclined version. And we are going to be here for 3 minutes. So take your time to settle into that. You want to find a position that is going to be doable for you right now. So what you can sit with at the beginning of your yin practice is not necessarily what you can sit with at the end of your yin practice. So be mindful that you're at the beginning. So be kind. Be kind here. And closing the eyes. We'll begin to turn the gaze inwards rather than outwards. So the intention to settle your awareness within. See what is there. So as you do that, I'm going to read to you from Gabrielle Harris's excellent book, which is called The Language of Yin. And this is what she says about Asteya, about non-stealing, non-hoarding. So Asteya is the practice of non-stealing. In a physical sense, we steal from ourselves when we compare ourselves to others, when we are not appreciative of the body we have at present, or when we push ourselves beyond our limits. We steal from our source of energy if we don't breathe properly, look after our body, or have gratitude for our life as it is. We take from ourselves when we lack compassion and understanding for ourselves in times of ill health, sorrow, or times of significant change. We steal from ourselves when we look outside of our innate wisdom to get answers from others. We steal from ourselves when we are not present to this moment. And she goes on to say, Yin is a practice of giving back, of non-stealing. The practice asks us not to take more than we need or move beyond our limits. It asks us to breathe not just in, but to fully exhale, to give as well as take. It is a practice of self-care and allowing. We start with the fullness of what we have and move from there. And most importantly, it is a practice of being present. Being here for yourself in any capacity is the greatest gift you can give to yourself. So then from here, if you're on your back, just really nice and gently use your hands, tuck your chin in to lift up. If you're coming forwards, once again, use your hands, keep the head down as you slowly come out. And then as you do that, and you might want to use your hands to move your legs, bring the feet a little wider than shoulder width apart, lean back onto your hands here, and we'll windscreen wipe the legs as a rebound here. So really just take this slowly. So of course, when we're working with the elements of water, there's going to be a lot of hip opening here. a lot to do with Svadhisthana from the Indian tradition, so in the pelvis and the belly. Okay. And then we're going to come into child's pose. Now I'm going to give you the option of flipping this up the other way, and if you are going to flip it up the other way, actually having your feet against the wall can be really nice. So either coming to a kneeling position, and again lots and lots of props. If you think about this sense of generosity towards yourself, so this is not about gritting your teeth and creating discomfort for yourself, although sometimes there can be uncomfortable things which come up, but you don't want to start off in this way because of course the sensations get more intense. So you might want to have a blanket underneath the knees, and it can be nice to have the knees sort of slightly floating there or under the ankles. It can be very nice to have something underneath the bottom, particularly if your bottom doesn't reach your heels so easily. And we're going to create a wide-kneed child's pose. So you might want to bring your knees as wide or maybe even slightly wider than the mat, and the big toes just touching there. And then walking the hands forward here, forehead down onto the mat, arms outstretched. Now you might want to instead bring this up a little bit with a little bit of support. So if it feels a little strong to have your head down onto the mat, then just bring a little support underneath the forehead or underneath the body. Okay. If all of that is uncomfortable and you can find a wall, then it can be very nice to shuffle your bottom up against the wall, your feet, and then bringing the knees out. Okay, and here you might want to hold on to the knees, so maybe that feels a little easier for you there. But the wall will just give you a little bit of support. And again, we'll pause here for 3 minutes. So as you settle into your child pose, let the belly relax. Begin to notice how things are for you right now. So here in particular, you may notice that there is possibly tension in the hips or in the lower back. But you may be able to breathe out and soften. Or perhaps there's a way to breathe into your shoulders and your chest. And as you exhale, to really allow gravity to draw you. So what can be released with your breath? Settle into this inner landscape. The whole world within. Take a nice deep inhale. And slowly, as you sigh the breath out, if you're on your front, come forward to lie onto your belly. If you're on your back, just rolling over, coming onto your belly. Lay your head onto one side, the backs of your hands down beside you onto the mat. Let the shoulders drop down. Noticing what you feel, what is really present for you as you rebound out of the child's pose. And allowing those sensations, if they are present, to settle in your body. And then we'll come into Sphinx. So taking your feet wide as your mat. And beginning with your elbows underneath the shoulders, your palms together, and then just taking the elbows a little further forward. So this just takes some of that strain out of the shoulder joint itself. So perhaps this feels really comfortable. And how you want to be in this is not striving and pushing up, but neither sunk down. So there's a comfortable point in between those two. So maybe even just experiment with how that feels. You can, of course, bring some support underneath the armpits, and that can feel really good. And we're going to be here for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Again, allow the belly to really be soft here. And paying attention to this body. To all the sensations that may be present for you. The last few breaths here. Take a nice deep inhale. Sigh the breath out, and once again just bring yourself down into belly savasana. You might want to lay your head onto the other side now. Back so hands down onto the mat. Let the shoulders really drop down. If you feel a sense of compression in your lower back, you may like to sway the hips from one side to the other. So last few breaths here. Take the hands back. I'm going to push up and come onto all fours for a moment. And then up into downward facing dog. So take your time here. We won't be here for too long. The toes tucked underneath, lifting the knees. Make this soft. Okay, so this is not a hatha form of downward facing dog. It's a softer. So maybe the heels are raised, maybe the knees are really bent. We're not striving here. Keeping the breath steady. Then we're going to come into swan, and again, lots of ways to support your body in this. So we'll start by bringing the left leg forward. So from your downward facing dog, what you can do is to bring your left knee to your left wrist or in that direction, and opening the hip up so the left foot comes towards the right wrist. Okay, so lots of ways to support this, and we'll go through this. And then from here, sliding the hips back, the right knee facing downwards onto the mat. So perhaps this feels fine unsupported, or perhaps you would like to support your body in this, in which case you can bring cushions, pillows, blocks as well, and support underneath your left buttock here. So if you bring support underneath there, then it will help and take a little of the strain out of the hips here. You might want to support underneath the knees. Perhaps this left foot feels better if it comes all the way underneath, so you can try that as well. So that it can feel a much more upright position. So plenty of support, plenty of support. And then a couple of options. So you can either remain here and resting onto the fingertips, or you can begin to walk forwards, perhaps rest onto the forearms, or all the way down, resting your head onto your forearms. And as we pause here, feel as if the pelvis, the whole of your pelvis is heavy. So that's weighty and heavy. Use your breath to breathe out and down. So the last few breaths here, take it nice and steady. Take a nice deep inhale, exhale through the mouth as you slowly walk the hands up. We're going to come back into downward facing dog. Now take this really slowly because your body will come out of this and it can feel quite strong as you come out. So slide the foot back, tuck the toes under, lift back up into downward facing dog here. And make this a fluid downward facing dog. So here you might want to really move the hips around, to bend one knee, the other, to walk the feet. Maybe the feet feel nice if you widen them. And paying attention to the sensation within the pelvis and the hips. And then let's take this on to the other side. So this time bringing the right knee towards or in the direction of the right wrist, sliding the foot across in the direction of the left wrist, and then bringing the weight back. So you're sliding your pelvis back here. And again, choosing your support. And it can be really different one side to the other because our bodies are not symmetrical robotic things. They are organic things that change according to what happens to us. So support under the right buttock here. Okay, lovely. And then either pausing upright or walking forwards, resting onto your forearms, coming all the way down onto the forearms with the forehead. And again, this sensation, you want to feel that that your pelvis is the part of you that's heavy. So the pelvis is the part of you that's kind of coming down towards the earth. If you can't feel that, perhaps slide back a little bit. So it's interesting what Gabrielle Harris wrote that I read at the beginning about how we can steal from ourselves. And actually, we know these things, don't we? We know this. We know the ways in which we steal from ourselves, in which we are not compassionate enough to our own beings sometimes. Now take a nice deep inhale. And slowly as you exhale, begin to push up. And again, we'll come back into downward facing dog. Make it soft. So tuck the toes under, push back, keep your knees bent. And find a little movement here. So releasing the knees, releasing the hips. And just being aware of any sensations of warmth or coolness or energy flowing through the hips and the groin and the pelvis, lower abdomen. And then bend the knees, come down, come onto your bottom. Okay. So, yes, well done. Quite a, yeah, there's a challenge in Swan, isn't there? So we'll come into Caterpillar here, and you can make this really supportive for yourself. So yeah, how can you be generous to your body and really kind to your body? So Caterpillar, sitting forward bend, you may know it as. And there's lots and lots of ways that you can support yourself in this. So, for example, you might want to sit onto a cushion or a block. You may want to have either a rolled up blanket under the knees, a cushion under the knees, maybe your bolster under the knees. Although there is a beautiful thing you can do with the bolster. So I'm going to suggest, if you have a bolster, that you just save it for the other thing that you can use it for now, and that you use a rolled up blanket or something underneath the knees instead. And then from here, taking a little bit of a lift, so the fingertips beside you, so a little bit of length in the body, and then bringing yourself forward. So here we want to feel something, but not to have it uncomfortable or painful in any way. And if you have a bolster, a fabulous thing to do with this is to have it between your feet at an angle and resting your head onto the end of the bolster. And that can really help you to let go of the weight of the head and to relax that. You may, of course, prefer instead to have something across your lap and rest your head with something across your lap here. But finding a position where you feel something, so there is a little something going on in the body. And we will pause here for 4 minutes, so we're going to take a little longer here. Relaxing the arms and the shoulders, and allowing the weight of your head to really let go as much as you can. And of course, you know, there may be constriction in the front of the body, but the back of the body is really open, so you can send your breath there. You can feel that you're breathing into the whole back, the back of your ribs. Now at this point you may notice that there's been some release in your body. So if you wish, just adjust your props now to allow for the release that you may have found. Often yin practice is like peeling an onion. You think not a lot is happening, and then a little while in you will find, oh goodness, there's a layer that I've let go of. There's a layer of something that has been released. And you think, oh well, that's it, now I'm really letting go. And then a little while later you actually find, oh goodness, there's another layer of release here. No striving, just being. So taking last few breaths here. And then drawing a nice deep inhale. Now use your hands, take this really nice and slowly. Walk your way up to sitting. Keep your awareness on what's going on. Change in sensation as you come upright. And then just come to lie down in resting pose for a moment. So lying down onto your back, feet as wide as your mat, and then let the knees drop in on each other. Allow your back to sink down into the mat. And then lift the feet up. Bring the hands onto the knees, elbows straight, and a gentle sway from side to side here. Bring your legs up into the air, hands by the side, and then just gently shake through the legs. Really relax knees, relax feet. A gentle shake. Once again, bring the hands onto the knees. Allow that sensation to flow through the legs. And then we'll come to our last pose, beautiful restorative pose, really gorgeous for the body, and that is Viparita Karani, or legs up the wall. Now, lots of ways to do this. If you have a wall that you can use, why not use the wall? But it's also absolutely fine and feels great to do it without the support of a wall. But what you might want is a cushion or folded blanket, or perhaps a bolster for underneath the sacrum. Now you'll just have to kind of feel your way into this and maybe experiment with support. So I'm going to do this with a block, because that's, you know, it could be a cushion, it could be something firmer. So if you come onto your back, now if you have a wall, the way to do this is to actually come onto your side with your bottom and your legs against the wall, and then from here, then you slide your feet round and up against the wall, and that way then your bottom is as close to the wall as possible. However, if you don't have a wall available, you're going to come onto your back as if you were going to come into bridge, so the knees are bent. Bring your support underneath your bottom, and you want to be able to have your support so that you can lift your bottom up and place it underneath. Otherwise, maybe it's a little too high. So your sacrum settles onto there. Hug your knees in, so you're stretching through the lower back a little. And then bringing the legs up and finding the position where you can just let them be. So where you can completely relax the legs. So if it's too far one way, they'll tend to fall over behind you. If it's not far enough, they'll fall down towards the mat. But somewhere in between those 2 points, there's a comfortable place where the legs can just float. And then taking the hands out a little way from the body, palms face upmost. You may like to bring the hands out to the side into cactus arms, tucking the shoulder blades underneath, so that can feel very lovely. Closing your eyes. And allowing yourself just to be. Just to be here for your whole being. So how is it that you can be generous to yourself today? And then when you are ready, taking a nice deep inhale. Slowly, as you sigh the breath out, come out the same way that you went in. So if you're up against the wall, come over onto your side. If your legs are free floating in the air, bring them down. Pause there for a moment. And then release whatever support you have beneath you. And once again, come onto your back. Bring the knees in, hands onto the knees. Take a little sway from side to side. And then bringing the legs down, we'll come into either Shavasana with the legs straight out along the mat, a little way from each other, letting the toes drop outwards and the arms a little way from the body, tucking the shoulders underneath. If that doesn't feel right for you right now, not the right thing for your body, come into resting pose. So the alternative is to take your feet as wide as the mat, let the knees drop in on each other. So that can be really nice for the whole of the pelvic area. And breathing out and allowing your whole body to rest here. Take a long, slow breath in and sigh the breath out through your mouth. Take a long, slow breath in, and as you sigh out, releasing physically, releasing mentally, releasing emotionally. And really allowing yourself to rest in a place of being. That is all. Settling into a place of being where right now you have all that you need. The breath coming and going, flowing in and flowing out like water. And as you breathe in and you breathe out, and the breath flows in and flows out like waves upon the shore, feel that the wave of the breath can now flow a little further down through your body. So as you breathe in, the wave flows down through the chest, the torso and the hips, and it flows out, up through the abdomen and the chest. And then as it flows in again, it flows in a little further, down through the thighs to the knees. And as you breathe out, it flows up and out through the crown of the head. You breathe in, and the breath flows in like water, flowing down now to the knees, to the ankles, all the way to the feet. And you breathe out, and the breath flows all the way up through the body and out through the crown of the head. Breathing in, breath flows through the whole body, and breathing out, the breath flows through the whole body. And if you wish and it feels good for you, you can imagine now or feel as if the breath flows in all the way down through the body and beyond, out through the soles of your feet. And then as you breathe out, the wave of breath comes from beyond the soles of your feet, up through the body, out through the crown of the head, and it keeps flowing. So now as you breathe in, the wave comes from beyond the crown of the head, and it keeps on going beyond the soles of the feet. And as you breathe out, it comes beyond the soles of the feet and continues beyond the crown of the head. So it feels as if you are floating in the wave of breath. And that you are part of a whole ocean of breath. And the breath flows all the way through you, in and out. Now, if you happen to be in a beautiful place of relaxation and you'd like to experience that for longer, then remain where you are. If not, when you hear the sound of the gong, just begin to make movements intuitively. So whatever happens to come to your body to move first. Nice and gently make your way up to sitting. Okay, and then we'll close with one Om together. So knowing within you actually that you have all that you need. When we feel that way, then we act from a place of fulfillment. So drawing your breath in together Breath out. Breath in. So may we carry a sense of peace and fulfillment and ease throughout the whole of this day. Thank you.